Well, one of the very, very interesting things, and one of the important things that we are looking at procurement groups to do is how do you show the impact that your organization has on the bottom line? One of the areas that I do a lot of work in is what's called a gap analysis, where we take procurement best practices and we compare your organization to the best practices. Well, one of those best practices is that you and executive management, procurement and executive management, has established exactly how procurement will be measured. Not the way procurement measures itself, but how does executive management measure procurement? And it's pretty universal that executive management measures things on the basis of impact to the bottom line. So the slide that I'm showing you right now is a typical scenario. I've used this many times with many of my clients where we've sat down with the CEO and we've said, well, here is the existing situation. And as you can see, we have sales. In this case, we actually divided it up between the money spent on direct materials and the money spent on MRO, maintenance, repair, and operating. And you can see for this particular company, those two spends in millions was rather close to each other. So basically, you can see that this company makes about 70 million on a 700 million worth of sales. So it actually is doing a pretty good job in terms of making a profit. Now, what we want to show and what we wanted to show this particular executive committee is what would happen if we actually got more savings on the MRO spend than was current. So we suggested to them that we could get a 5% reduction in that category. What would happen if we got a 5% reduction? Well, you can see right away that, of course, that 5% reduction actually equates to about an $8 million reduction in MRO spend. And by the time we pay the taxes and so forth, we actually have a bottom line contribution of about $5 million. Well, this was already outstanding enough, and the executive management was quite excited about that because it's not that easy to make significant impacts on the bottom line. But the real question was, well, what would it take in sales to make the exact same impact, the $5 million impact? So we asked the CFO to help us with some numbers, and we saw that if we expect from our sales organization to get the same $5 million impact, it would take about a $54 million increase in sales. In other words, to sum it up, it would actually take about $6.75 increase in sales to equal the same impact of a $1 savings in procurement. Well, one of the questions we asked executive management is we said, well, which one's easier? To get your supply management organization to come up with methods and to actually accomplish this, or would it be easier to get the sales? Well, unanimously, everybody agreed that it's certainly not easy to get additional sales. It takes a lot of resources, takes a lot of money, and certainly it would appear to be easier to do that in just cutting the cost of the spend. In this case, we had to tell the executive management, well, to do that, we're going to need some additional resources. We probably are going to need to hire some very high-level skilled purchasing people who can bring this savings forward very quickly. And showing it in this method, we were able to get a okay right away in terms of the additional cost to bring on those resources. So the real question is, and what I would suggest to all the people that are listening, is develop a model. It doesn't have to be exactly this model, but develop some model that can show what is your impact when you actually get $1 of savings. Often when I've done this very developed this very model for different clients, the numbers weren't, in this case, were close to $7 in sales to equal the impact of $1. We've actually seen it was $40 in sales.